Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally upon us. Week 1 is less than 4 days away when the Buffalo Bills take on the Baltimore Ravens Sunday Night Football. We have Thursday Night Football this evening, the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Football is in the air, and you know what that means. We need to preview this Bills and Ravens game because there have been a lot of storylines, particularly on the injury reports for both teams, that may completely change the dynamic of where we were last week. Super excited to unpack all this. Jake, how you doing? How was your weekend?
It's good. It's good. I'm hyped up. Football finally back. All starts tonight. Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles. But we're looking forward to the main event, Sunday Night Football, Bills Ravens. I don't know. I feel like some people might be ready to go through a table. I'm ready to see it at Highmark Stadium on Sunday. Can't wait.
Oh, man, you have no idea. Z-Bot, how's life, man? How was your trip, by the way?
Trip was great, man. It's even better when you come home knowing that Buffalo Bills football is less than a week away, Dan. And here we are, Thursday Night Football. Season starts tonight. Just a couple of days away from the Bills kicking things off. We made it. I mean, it's just this last month has felt like I've been saying we're this close, we're this close, we're this close. It's weird, though. As long as it's felt to get to this point, now it feels like all of a sudden, whoa, we're already, like, how are we here already? I don't know why I'm feeling that way, but we are, and I'm stoked. Can't wait. Doesn't get bigger than what we got going on Sunday night in Buffalo.
See, I got to tell you what, man, I wish we had a cupcake opponent for week 1, but it is what it is. This is a good measuring stick to see what this Buffalo Bills team is all about. Kev, what's going on, man? How's life?
Oh, good to be back. Good to be back. I know it's been about a week since Jake and I went solo.
I know.
Nice.
On a show. We
know.
talked about Gabe Davis a little bit too, which I thought was fun. But nailed that one. So, enjoying it. I think the Ravens have just as many important injuries that we aren't talking about enough.
Yeah.
Some really game-affecting injuries. Some encouraging data if you're a fan of the Bills winning. There's some encouraging data that Lamar Jackson really struggles in certain situations and really struggles against certain elements. So, I mean, there's some hope that all is lost because CB2. What is the downgrade between Trey White and Dorian Strong anyways? We'll see.
We shall see, indeed. We were talking backstage right before you joined us. I'm assuming it has something to do with his production with 11-man personnel.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
It has everything to do with his limited production without Patrick Ricard, his limited production not in 12 personnel, his limited production without Isaiah Likely on the field. There's alarming data. His production with 5-man rushes and man coverage, alarming. So there's some things that you can point to of how unproductive their running game can be without their fullback, which is, it's not the 90s anymore, but it is for them.
With or without Derrick Henry, folks, I'm starting to get jazzed up about this. However, we did end up getting an updated injury report from the Buffalo Bills. We saw one guy actually go in the wrong direction. It's Tyler Bass. He was a do not practice today. Matt Prater was added to our team earlier this morning on the practice squad. Will he be elevated? I suppose time will tell there. Tre'Davious White, second day in a row as a do not practice designation. I'm going to go around the table and I'm going to get everybody's thoughts on what this injury report is perhaps suggesting for Sunday and your best guess of who is going to be a go and who is likely going to be on the bench healing up for one more week. Kev, what do you got?
If you look at it from a perspective of I don't think Keon Coleman's injury was new. I think we were assuming that. McDermott did a strange thing where he said, you can ask me about players. And so media started asking about random players they thought were hurt. And no one brought up Keon Coleman, but I'm assuming that groin has already been a week or two. So he looked fine in all the videos. I don't think he'll be limited at all. Elijah Moore is a personal reason. Khalil Shakir's back. I mean, McDermott has mentioned a bunch of times that Trey could just practice Friday and still play. And of anybody that would know his defense, him and Poyer would probably be the two. And Jordan Phillips, I guess, would be people that would know this defense. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he's 100% out. 95% sure he's out. And then Tyler Bass, I'm not sure what's going on there. He kicked an entire preseason game, looked fine, and just randomly got hurt in practice. Maybe he was the practice flare-up, not Keon Coleman. So, and Benford looks completely fine. So ultimately, like I said, how much of a downgrade is it going from Trey White at this stage, Trey White, to a promising rookie in Dorian Strong? We'll see.
We shall see, indeed. I did find it interesting, too, that Babich really was singing his praises during his press conference
multiple times over the course of 3 weeks.
And he kind of ended up giving like sort of like a throwaway statement for Ingram. He's like, yeah, like sometimes like that dude will just be laying in the weeds and then bang, he has a great practice. That's like really not he's going to be the starter. It's I love the energy about Dorian Strong opposed to Ingram. So perhaps that's telling us something. Jake, what does this injury report tell you? Are there any concerns? Who do you think plays? Who do you think does not play?
My biggest takeaway from this injury report is the Tyler Bass situation. If you look, Wednesday limited, Thursday did not practice, didn't participate. So the same day that the Bills announced that they brought in Matt Prater, who is going into his 19th NFL season. This guy's been around the block, 41 years of age. He can be effective. He missed some time last year with the Cardinals. I would expect him to play on Sunday based off of the timing of the signing and Bass not participating on Thursday. So that's my biggest takeaway and my biggest thing to watch with the news of Matt Prater being an addition and Tyler Bass being on the injury report again.
And so what do you got on this, Z-Bot?
Yeah, you know, Kevin mentioned it. We were talking about it backstage. The T-Bass situation is interesting to me because they did allow him to kick an entire preseason game. He had multiple kicks in that game. I just figured he'd be ready to go. Now he isn't, or at least we think he's not going to be out on the field. I don't think you have him not practice and then sign a 41-year-old Matt Prater if you anticipated Tyler Bass to be out on the field Sunday night. Now I guess the question is, when is he going to be back out on the field? And when he is back out there, is he going to be solid enough for the Bills to rely upon? I mean, you go back to this time last year, and one of the biggest question marks the Bills had was, you know, how do we feel about Tyler Bass? And I think he did enough last year to prove to the fan base that we can rely on him. And of course, that Miami Dolphins game was the biggest emphasis of all of that. But that one to me is certainly intriguing in a game where you have a 1.5 point spread that's already went from the Bills being favored to now being a home underdog. And I don't think people realize how rare that is in the Josh Allen era. Kicking is going to be crucial. Now, of course, Baltimore knows all about losing a star kicker too, so we'll see what they end up looking like without Justin Tucker here. But that one stands out the most. Glad to see Christian Benford doesn't seem to be as serious as it could have been, because if that was going to end up being a do not practice today and leading towards a not playing, I would have been feeling real gross about what this Baltimore offense would be going up against on the back end. The fact that you do have Benford back there is huge. I'm bummed to see Tre'Davious White looking like he's not going to play. I mean, it just felt like the momentum was being built so heavily throughout this offseason. How stoked were we not only to have him back as a culture locker room guy, but then all of a sudden, whoa, Trey White's going to be an impact. Whoa, he's putting together some of his best ball the last couple of years here in practice. And then unfortunately, just the way it's been for him throughout his career hurt once again. So I'm super bummed about that. Keon Coleman too. That's the other one that's weird. That just came out of nowhere, right? All of a sudden, boom, Keon Coleman hurt. We've been hearing a ton about Keon Coleman, including from Deion Dawkins, who basically said, look out, NFL, you know, Keon Coleman's coming to town this year. So glad to see he's healthy. But I think it could have been worse. It's not ideal right now, Dan, but I think in terms of the circumstances, it certainly could have been worse.
Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you what, it's not just the Buffalo Bills that are dealing with injuries right now. So it was already confirmed that Likely is not going to play per Ian Rappaport, still recovering from a fractured foot. I highly doubt that they're going to wheel him out there. It sounds like Jair Alexander was a full participant in practice today. I'm not sure about you guys, but for me, even if Jair is out there, I'm not entirely convinced that Baltimore is going to like have him out there for a vast majority of the snaps. So I feel like he's the type of guy that they brought in that's more so of a helping hand in the midway through the season and even into the playoffs by itself. So who knows? Maybe he rolls out there. Maybe it's a limited capacity. And then Ricard is the biggest one right on their overall injury report. Does this change your perspective on what you think of this Ravens offense? I'm going to start off with Jake on this one, with those key injuries.
It doesn't overly change the way that I look at the Ravens offense as a whole. I think, obviously, Ricard, he's an impactful player at the fullback position. He's been around for the Baltimore Ravens for quite some time now. Overall, it doesn't change too much because they still have 8 and 22 in the backfield, and that's a lot to worry about. For me, the biggest focal point that the Buffalo Bills need to focus on slowing down in this game is Derrick Henry. I know there might be some differing opinions here, but Derrick Henry, that guy's a beast. He's 31, but he's not really showing any signs of slowing down. So got to limit his production, and I don't think that changes at all.
And so what do you got on that, Z-Bot? So Ricard, you have Likely out. Now, what are your thoughts?
Well, with Likely out, you look at that and you think, well, the week 1 game last year, he was a big toe away from winning that game for Baltimore against Kansas City. But then you look at Mark Andrews, right? And I feel like there's nobody that wants to come into a game and prove themselves more than Mark Andrews coming into Buffalo, where the last we saw him, he dropped away the potential division W, the divisional W to move on to the AFC Championship. So I think Mark Andrews still has plenty of tread left on the tires, and I think that he'll certainly be an X factor in this game. Obviously, Baltimore would like to have Likely, but I do think Andrews will be a factor. And then with Ricard, right, I think that's one of the more underrated guys in terms of somebody you look at who's injured and might not think much of, but you guys have explained it. When we're talking about Baltimore's offense, he's extremely impactful. The Bills have been really solid against Derrick Henry outside of their regular season game last year. They've been even more solid against Lamar Jackson. I don't think anybody's really defended Lamar better over a game sample size in which McDermott has had against him than Sean McDermott. They've done an incredible job of coaching up against Lamar Jackson. So you're confident in their ability to get stops on Lamar. It just depends on what version you're going to get. Are we going to get the version that's susceptible to a turnover or two that allows this Bills defense to make a play, allow Josh Allen to take over the game, or are they going to let Derrick Henry go for 200 yards like they did on Sunday Night Football last year and let this Ravens team completely dictate the game on the ground? It could go one of two ways. We've seen it go both ways, and we've seen this team do an exceptional job against both of these guys. So it's really a coin flip as to how you could see it going. But with the injuries on Baltimore's end of things, I think it might even things out just a little bit when you look at what the Bills are missing as well.
What do you got, Kevin?
I think their injuries are underratedly heavy in terms of of two players that make their offense tick. We've talked a lot about the Bills side of it. We'll see what ends up happening at CB2, and I guess at the stage kicker, which I guess there's now rumors that Bass has a sports hernia. So we'll see, if that's what it ends up being and how long that is ends up being. But if you look at it from a Bills perspective against the Ravens offense, I mean, there's definitely some alarming numbers of players that, you're not missing Jamar Chase or somebody of that stature, I guess. You're not missing Lamar Jackson, to be more specific. But if you look at it in terms of what happens when you're missing somebody like Ricard because of the mismatch that he presents, I mean, he's a 300-pound guy he's an offensive lineman playing fullback. I mean, that's what he is. The Bills had one replicating him in practice this week as an offensive lineman. So he's nimble. He does a lot in that offense, and you have no idea what the Ravens are going to do when he's on the field. Hence why their numbers, pretty much their metrics, account for that. Without Ricard on the field in 2024, their EPA dropped 0.18. That's a lot. So that's roughly, call it 10 points over expected that their offense dropped with him on the field and in the passing game. We're talking about in the passing game first. So that's how much he can affect the passing. It's a major loss. Like, there's no other way around it. The Ravens tick better in 12 personnel. They tick better with two running back situations. There are two big injuries on their offense to face early in the year too. So they're gonna have to run a lot of 11 personnel. What does DeAndre Hopkins have left in his tank? Can Bateman follow up that same performance that he had last year in the playoffs? We'll have to see. But those are two major injuries on the Ravens' perspective, and likely had a really great day against the Bills the last time they saw him. So ultimately, big injuries on their end, and some that could help the Bills take over an advantage. Some of a little bit of their shortcomings in their injury report, but Ricard being out heavily hurts their expected points average.
So the offense indeed has its injuries that may affect their overall game plan, and they will need to make some adjustments. I have the lineups for Buffalo and also the Baltimore Ravens offense, and I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think or who you think is going to be some of the X factors on the Buffalo Bills defense. Like, what matchups are you really liking? And that's all over the field. It's whether or not that it's the trenches. It's whether or not that maybe you love Dorian Strong against old man Hopkins or something along those lines. Like, what matchup are you really excited to watch? Who's going to be an X factor for this defense? I'm going to start off with Z-Bot on this one.
I got my eyes on Joey Bosa in this one. I got high expectations for Joey Bosa. I'm really excited about what he could potentially be bringing to this defense. And I feel like it's one of the more forgotten about signings in terms of a big name moving teams going to a contender. And you get it, right? I mean, he's had the injury history that's unfortunately kept him from getting to that second level in terms of how you kind of view him, maybe not as much as you would view his brother just because of the amount of injuries he's sustained. But when I saw him in the brief reps he had in preseason, the quickness was there. The ability to get off the ball and get after the quarterback was evident. And he feels like he's rejuvenated by coming to Buffalo. I go back to when they first brought him in and he said that he had hung out with the teammates in Buffalo more in the couple of days or a couple of weeks he had been there than he had ever had with LA his entire career. I feel like he found something there, right? He's talking about the ducks in his backyard. He just almost feels like he's at peace in Buffalo. And it's funny, we hear this time and time again. There's a reason why Jordan Poyer's dying to come back. Jordan Phillips dying to come back. Tre'Davious White. I don't know what it is about Buffalo. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Buffalo, but these guys love it too. And even the guys that haven't been a part of it before, they immediately figure out what everybody else seemed to have figured out throughout their career. Joey Bosa is one of those guys for me. I look at in this game that you could be watching the broadcast, right? And Collinsworth and Tirico are on the call, and all of a sudden you hear his name, and the rest of the world watching outside of Bills Mafia is like, oh yeah, Joey Bosa's on the Bills, and that's why Brandon Beane brought him in. So he's one guy I have circled for sure.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I've been thinking about, I'm really high on our defensive tackles, particularly against their right guard and particularly against their left guard. I'm not sure what you guys think about this. Like, Linderbaum obviously is like one of the best centers in the NFL. He's very, very good. But I think that there is some athleticism questions specifically for their guards on the outside. Like, quality and run, like blocking, don't get me wrong, but even watch for a potential TJ Sanders and Deion Walker with the limited snaps I think that they may have during this game to really challenge these guys. I think that this is actually a great matchup for both of the rookies to potentially cause havoc in the backfield. I'm looking at some of those younger guys. Kev, some X factors. Like, what are you thinking on the defensive side of the football for the Bills?
Yeah, you see it here. PFF is calling Sanders a starter, which, I've heard.
He's not active. Oh, okay.
I've heard he's getting a lot of snaps next to Ed Oliver from my little birdies inside practice. So good. PFF must be hearing the same, where I'd expect a healthy rotation. I think Walker's would be the one a little bit more kind of introduced into the defense, but I think Sanders is going to be someone that's going to actually see legitimate time in this package that you see here. Falele and Voorhees are definitely their weak links of their offense. There's no doubt about it. Those two guys are average average guards. They haven't been good. I know even Ravens fans want Falele gone from what I can tell. He's definitely an issue, and Rosengarten's okay. Like, I don't think he's anything special in my opinion. He's a bottom tier, second tiered center or right tackle. So, honestly, like, he doesn't do anything that scares me very. Ronnie Stanley's an all-pro. He's been, good in his career. He kind of had some injury problems at points, but definitely still a stud left tackle. But that right side of the line, in my opinion, is vulnerable. The interior is just by virtue of the two guards. The Bills are going to throw 5-man pressures. It's just what they're going to do. Like, Lamar is just so much worse against 5-man pressure. So truthfully, blitzing and getting after Lamar Jackson and playing man coverage is going to be the X factor in this game, in my personal opinion. And that's what I think the Bills will take advantage of throughout the majority of this game. So that's really what I think is the most standout to me, is Bills are going to bring extra pressure to me. He's 23rd in EPA per dropback at 0.14 when facing 5 rushers in man coverage. So 23rd ranked quarterback against 5-man pressure and man coverage. Going to see a lot of it. You saw a lot of it in the first 3 quarters of the playoffs. That the Bills then switched to more of a zone, and he started to play better.
It was like 48% man coverage in the playoffs, right?
Yeah. they went heavy, and it only was 48% because when they went up double digits, they kind of switched their defense. But a 5-man pressure is going to happen, and it's going to happen especially without Isaiah Likely and without Patrick Ricard. So both of those injuries play into the matchups. They play into the Bills' strengths of this. And Lamar is the 23rd ranked quarterback with EPA in that situation.
Okay, so something to consider there. Jake, some X factors on defense based off of what you're seeing and against this offense.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens at the CB2 position with all the uncertainty surrounding Tre'Davious White right now. You look at the Baltimore Ravens, I think that there's a good chance that regardless of who plays that CB2 spot, I think that there's a good shot that Lamar Jackson tries to exploit them early and often in this game. But for me, the X factor as a whole collective unit is the first and second level of the Bills defense going up against Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the backfield. They can do a lot of read options and a lot of great things on the offensive side of the football. But slowing down Derrick Henry for me is the biggest key. Derrick Henry last year, he had less than 90 rushing yards in just 8 games. And of those games, Baltimore lost 5 of them in the regular season. They lost 5 games all regular season. So holding Derrick Henry, limiting his production, I think that's huge because that forces Lamar Jackson to make the plays. And Lamar Jackson, he has more potential to make mistakes than Derrick Henry. Although Lamar Jackson's one heck of a player, I would rather have Lamar Jackson beat the Bills than Derrick Henry just beat the Bills and run all over them like they did early on in the season last year.
And for the love of God, I feel like we'll finally get an answer on whether or not all these offseason moves, especially on the defensive side of the football, is going to help with that third down defense. Because what a test. Like, what a test on Sunday. We're going up against, I'm pretty sure they were second in the league, or at least top 5 in third down conversions on the offensive side of the ball. In fact, I want to say that they were second, and they're going up against our third down defense, which I think was between 27th and 29th. I've been kind of like floating around the idea. If, for example, Buffalo can force Baltimore to punt 4 times, then we win this game. That's kind of the measuring stick I've put in my head. I'm not sure if you guys are on the same page or if it's that simple in your eyes, but that's what I'm looking at. 4 stops, 4 third down stops, maybe give me 2 3 and outs, and I'm feeling really confident about this defense against this limited offense. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's the number, right? And I mean, the Bills did get that in the AFC Championship game against Mahomes. It ultimately played a really good defensive second half. And I think there's a path to it. Like, I'm not worried about cornerback 2 in this game. Bengals would worry me a little bit more. I'm not worried with this specific style of offense. It's a run style offense. It's, RPOs, it's movement, it's double, 2 running back situations, the most in the league. Now they don't have Ricard, so what are they going to do? No Isaiah Likely for their 12 personnel. I mean, the Bills had really good plan for Hopkins the last time they saw him in the AFC Champion, a really good plan for Kelsey even the last time that they saw them in, DeAndre Hopkins in the playoffs. So to me, it's a matter of, I mean, we were talking about him basically being in a game with Kyrie Elam at corner. So ultimately, I'm really excited to see what Dorian Strong can do. I think the best matchup is already probably one of our better corners. We forget that Taron Johnson exists, but he's going to be on Flowers for the majority of the day. And then we have Benford able to take away the side of the field, whoever they think is causing more problems at the time, if Hopkins is back to form or if it's Bateman, who had a great game the last time they played. So I'm honestly not overly concerned about the Hopkins versus whoever's on the Bills side. Call it Dorian Strong for this argument. That doesn't scare me quite enough to where we're taking off. And then the downgrade at this point from Prater, who's a guy who's kicked a lot in his career and was actually pretty good last year before he got hurt. Honestly, I think he missed 1 kick. Between that and Bass, at this stage, I don't know how big the difference is. And then the downgrade from White to Strong, I'm not overly super worried about at this stage, especially where the Bills have done, less with more with their cornerbacks. Old man Rasul Douglas, I don't even know if he's playing in Miami at this point, behind some bad corners. And then obviously Kyrie Elam, who we'll see tonight. We'll see what he does tonight for the Dallas Cowboys guys. So I am not concerned at all with the 2 downgrades there. Shakir would have been a big one. Coleman would worry me, but he seems fine. The routes he's running look smooth. And then, honestly, Benford being out would have been a big deal, but they're rolling with their corner 1 and 2, no matter what you want to label them. Taron Johnson takes away the slot. Christian Benford can take away a first receiver. I'm not overly concerned. And I know Rep is fairly good in coverage, and I'm really excited about Cole Bishop. The safeties are entrenched, more entrenched than we were talking about even on our show here. So, and then the linebackers are back, guys. Matt Milano is back for Mark Andrews. I like the matchups. I like the interior D-line against our awful interior O-line. I don't know, man. I like the 5-man pressure situation. It all needs to come together, of course. And Derrick Henry can change things in a hurry, but they got the makings to be able to handle the slight losses that they're having. Can the Baltimore offense overcome, to me, their 2 best fringe players that aren't Zay Flowers and Derrick Henry?
So why am I predicting that Kevin's about to throw out like a 35-17 Buffalo Bills win on Sunday?
I would. I just don't want to get clipped up. I really would. 5-man pressure. Even Todd Monken himself said that they need to work on it. That's how you know it's legitimate. About being a concern against 5-man fronts, 5-man pressures with man coverage. He's got to get better at it.
Oh man. Well, you know what? Right before we end up switching over to the offensive game plan for the Buffalo Bills, I do need to give a giant shout out right here to our good friends over at Picasso's Pizza. Folks, if you have not tried Picasso's Pizza, what are you doing? It is Buffalo Pizza. And the good thing is that they are delivering nationwide, all right? It doesn't matter where you are located in the continental United States. They will deliver it to your front doorstep. You simply just pop it into your oven and boom, you have a taste of home. So whether or not that you wanted to use this as a gift idea for a friend or family member that has moved away from Western New York, or whether or not that you are out of town and you would like to try it out, go hit that link in our bio. Go check out picassospizza.net where you can go on ahead and order your pie today. All right, let's talk a little bit about this Buffalo Bills offense here going up against a defense which certainly presents its share of problems and or challenges for this offense by itself. Now, we are looking at a team that is very good at stopping the run, that has added a Jair Alexander. We'll see if he's anywhere close to 100%. Marlon Humphrey, who is probably going to be on Khalil Shakir. Let me go on ahead and make this a bit better for a visual right here. And then Nate Wiggins' second-year corner would be lined up against Palmer, of course, depending on what Buffalo plans on doing. So I think I kind of wanted to shift more over to, if you were the offensive coordinator, what are your keys to succeeding against this defense? I'm going to start off with Z-Bot on this one.
Yeah, so oddly enough, and I really don't know why, but I feel like this is going to be a James Cook game. You just mentioned it. This is a defense that is really good against the run, but James Cook seldomly had those 16, 17 carry type games last season. One of the only ones he had was against Baltimore in the divisional round. And I think when you have a quarterback in Lamar Jackson that you have to respect in regard to being one of the best in the business, not only now, but in recent memory, you want to keep him off the field as much as you possibly can, as do the Baltimore Ravens with Josh Allen. And I think that was one of the game plans in the divisional round. You ran James Cook 17 times in that game for 4 yards a carry. And I feel like you might want to do the same in this game as well, because with being more banged up on defense, keeping Derrick Henry on the sideline is probably the most ideal thing you can do if you're Joe Brady. And I think if they can get James Cook established behind that line, they're going to keep going to it. That's what they did in the divisional round. And they really went to James Cook more heavily in the postseason than I think you would have anticipated based on sort of what you were seeing throughout the year in terms of its full sample size. He was in the teens in terms of carries each and every game. And I think with the new contract here, not that you're going to see an overusage. I never thought that, but I do think that there might be a bit more emphasis on getting him involved. I think we could see that as early as Sunday night, not necessarily because they think they're going to ground and pound it towards domination like they did against Dallas a couple of years ago, where Joe Brady literally ran it into the ground. I think Josh Allen threw the ball 7 times in that game. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that James Cook is going to have enough touches in this game where he's going to help dictate time of possession and allow the Buffalo Bills to control the game offensively, which they weren't able to do the last time they played in the regular season, and they got worked. They do not want Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson continuously getting the ball back. So I think you're fine with 3 or so yards a carry for James Cook, continuously trying to go back to that. Maybe use the legs of Josh Allen more than you typically would in a week 1 game. You look at that schedule, and I hate to keep saying this because I don't want to overlook anybody, but I don't anticipate Joe Brady going to need to dial up 6-7 Josh Allen runs over the next month and a half. Maybe you want to utilize Josh Allen's legs a little bit more in week 1 here than you would going out through the next 7-8 weeks here. So I think the run game is going to be a bit more of a factor than you'd think based on going against this really stout defense in Baltimore.
So to add to that as well, like while statistically they were a very good run defense, they do struggle with running backs in the receiving game. And when I was scrolling through Sleeper, I saw the over-under for James Cook set at 10.5 receiving yards. I smashed the over faster than I think I have ever smashed any over in my life. I think,
Cooks?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like they have him at 10.5 receiving yards. I'm like, come on, give me a break. For me, like, look, I am rooting for Dalton Kincaid this year because I really do think that there was a chemistry issue between him and Josh Allen. But like when you can try and attempt to find chinks in the armor for this Baltimore Ravens defense, it's running backs in the receiving game, tight ends too. So if I'm looking into this, I would almost anticipate that's probably going to be a pretty big part of their game plan. I'm actually looking for a big game from Dalton Kincaid or Dawson Knox. Haws has also been getting his praises sang more so for as a blocker, but I feel like that's what you have to do because this guy right here, he was benched at one point last year. Simpson, like dude was benched at one point from the Baltimore Ravens linebacker side of things. So this is a weakness I think that Buffalo is going to attempt to exploit in that short little, like,
not to mention Michael Pierce retiring too. Their main one.
And so with Pierce as well, like when it comes into it. So I think that's going to be the X factors for me, man. Like Ty Johnson, James Cook right in the receiving game, pound the rock too, man. Like, listen, like we have a great offensive line. Yeah. Like that's like where I'm going. I'm not sure how we feel about Shakir coming off of a high ankle sprain and going up against Humphrey for probably the vast majority of the game. I'm not really seeing his targets being through the roof. It could be wrong. Same thing with Coleman, depending on how his groin injury is looking. Like, how much of a factor is he going to be? Palmer against Wiggins is interesting to me. But Kev, thoughts, man? X factors for the offense, game plan against this Ravens defense.
Oh, I'm going after anybody who's whatever boundary receiver is getting covered by Jair Alexander. He's had his knee drained like the entire preseason. He's coming off to me, an injury-prone year. I don't know that it's Palmer, Wiggins, and Coleman, Alexander. I'm not sure if that's going to be the way that the Ravens are going to play that, but I'm going after Alexander early and often. If he can handle it, great. Then that's good for him. But I'm going to stress what I can do for my new receiving room that I think is pretty strong. And then I'm pounding the rock. I'm running it. They ran for 140 plus yards. They embarrassed him on the ground, in my opinion, all game last time they played. Run it right at him. See what Matabuke and Travis Jones can do, and as well Simpson. So for me, I'm going right at them. I'm running right at their strength. And putting some pressure on Starks to start with his first NFL game. So I think that's ultimately I'm going to run a lot of orbit motions. I'm going to do a lot of different things to get Shakir the ball. So it's not necessarily just a Shakir on Humphrey style down the field intermediate routes where they may not be the strongest in terms of maybe that's pro Humphrey in that situation, but you're getting Shakir the ball early and often, in my opinion. And it's not going to be him winning routes downfield against Humphrey. Although he seems to find the soft spot in between Simpson and Humphrey all the time. So, made a good play in the playoffs in that exact manner. So ultimately, that they needed to have, otherwise the Ravens could have gone up 14-0. So I'm feeling pretty good about the receiver matchups. We'll see if Wiggins can keep his high level of play up and see who he's guarding. But I'm attacking Jair Alexander to see his health and see how he's doing right now. As it's just like first full practice I've seen him have in forever. So, and it's 3 days before the game. So that's what I'm going to do. The Bills, they're playing kind of their hurt corner. The Bills don't seem to be. So I'm really interested to see how that can go. But that's my exact matchup. And I'm running the ball in this game. I'm doing a lot of different things to get James Cook the ball, to get Ty Johnson out in motion, and as well as getting Ray Davis some luck. So I think the Bills need to rely on to see how Jones and Madubuike can stop the inside run, the inside zone.
What can they get done? Jake, X factors. How are you attacking this Ravens defense?
I think that this is a game that's going to come down to time of possession, ball control football. Like we saw in the divisional round last season, we saw the Buffalo Bills take a lot of underneath stuff in that game. Time of possession was 31-44 for the Bills to 28-16 for the Baltimore Ravens. And we know that the Baltimore Ravens, just like the Buffalo Bills, they have a high octane offense. You're going to want to keep that offense off the field as much as possible. You don't want Derrick Henry just taking over a game, and you don't want Lamar Jackson to do the same thing. Those are both X factors that operate out of Baltimore's backfield. So I see this being a Khalil Shakir type of game, Dalton Kincaid, James Cook, Ty Johnson. I think that there's going to be a lot of underneath stuff. You might see a shot downfield early, just to try to get some adjustments on the Baltimore Ravens defensive game plan. But I'm looking overall long-term throughout the game, ball control football, a lot of underneath stuff. So that's Shakir, that's Kincaid, that's Ty Johnson, James Cook, and then, of course, quarterback's legs with Josh Allen. Can never discount that.
And you can never do it, indeed. All right, man. Look, I'm liking all these matchups so far. That much I can tell you. However, I think we should transition over into what everyone is concerned about. Will the Buffalo Bills win this game? If so, final score prediction. Give me a hot take for this game as well. I'm interested in that. I'm going to start off with Kevin on this one. Final score prediction and your hot take of the game.
I'll stay on the optimistic end of the crew and the panel in this one, and I can't stress it. I don't know how I would have felt, but I can't stress enough that I'm going to support the fact that they're missing two of their top five meaningful players, in my opinion. I mean, I guess whatever you want to do with Bateman, but two of their top five meaningful players that really do make their offense tick. We cannot stress that enough. I really can't. The data supports it. So I'm interested to see how this Bills defense is able to take advantage. I like the 5-man pressure front. My hot take, 4 sacks by the Buffalo Bills defense in this game.
Yes.
I like the interior pressure. I think people are going to leave this game, even win or loss, and saying, well, the D-line might be here. If they lose, people want to be focusing on the loss, but at least long-term, you're thinking, well, this might be what we're looking for. You know, I think someone mentioned the Bosa matchup being really, really interesting. I mean, I think the Bills have wins across the field on that side of the ball. I really do, minus the cornerback too. We've talked about a lot. Other than that, I think that the Bills have plus matchups on the, and then obviously they have an MVP quarterback who can make things happen. But I got the Bills winning in this one, 30-21.
30-21. We go out there, we score 30 points once again, like nothing has ever changed. Curious to see whether or not that you would have picked the Ravens to win if in an alternative reality that we had Likely and Ricard healthy.
I mean, I can't say that they're a 9-point swing, but I really would have been. I mean, I think that they do help their offense tick. It's really strange to say, like, how can somebody minus like Jamar Chase really affect a game that much? But it's the little points in the game. Like the EPA adds up over the course of time. It's not a betting line. So the way that the EPA stacks, I mean, yeah, it makes it closer. Definitely. It makes it a situation where you don't have the pro defensive matchups that I'm talking about right now. You can't go to 5-man pressures as easily when they're in 12, when they're able to block it, or they have a fullback, they're eating everything up, clearing space for Derrick Henry. So ultimately, what am I worried about? I'm worried about Derrick Henry getting going anyways. But the Bills' run defense is much improved. We saw it in the preseason. And then without their big running mate in Ricard, I don't know. I mean, I think it makes their entire offense extremely predictable. So can Lamar Jackson change that? He can at the tip of a hat. He can at any point make plays that are ridiculous and run for 60 yards and do things that you don't need to be in script with someone like Lamar Jackson. He's that good. So avoid that. But I mean, my biggest, sure, that DeAndre Hopkins comes out of nowhere and absolutely torches Dorian Strong, and the Bills then have to go to Jamarcus Ingram, who also is torched. Sure, I mean, that's definitely a concern, but not in this matchup. It's not T. Higgins. So I'm not overly concerned by the style of offense in this situation. Bills can come down, stop the run, 5-man pressures. And I mean, Dan, yeah, those are 2 big losses for them. Is it more or less than Zay Flowers in the playoffs? I think this could be, as a combo, it could be more than they were missing with Zay Flowers last time they played.
More detrimental, interesting.
As a
Z-Bot, So Z-Bot, thoughts, man? You and I have been wrestling back and forth with this one. But now we have a clearer answer of what Ravens team we are going to be facing. What do you got, man? Final score prediction, hot take of the game.
Yep. Unfortunately, I've had a bad gut feeling about this one since the schedule came out. That gut feeling has not changed. There's one or two a year where I just can't shake it. I just feel bad about it for whatever reason. Nothing to do with the X's and O's, nothing to do with anything other than I just don't feel right about it. And I'm big on narrative-driven elements of a football game. Yeah, a lot of it can be hearsay at times, but there's too much on the end of Baltimore here to overlook it. And I just think that the Bills are in a situation where they can go out there, play well, drop this, and then literally go on a run for 2 months straight where they don't drop one, might not come close to dropping one based on who they're going up against, based on how Vegas views them going up against these opponents. I mean, they're heavily favored in the vast majority of those games. But I look at this one and I just feel like there's a bit more added juice on the side of Baltimore to go in and get this one done. I do know that the injuries for Baltimore certainly have to be factored in, but the injuries for Buffalo do as well. I think it's going to be an incredibly tight game right down to the wire. Wouldn't shock me at all if the Bills end up winning it by the same margin that I have Baltimore winning it. I have Baltimore winning it 26-23, comes all the way down to the wire. I think this time around, Baltimore ends up getting it done in that late frame where they couldn't last year. But once again, I think this incites a run for Buffalo where you're going to forget week one even happened a month and a half from now when they go on an incredible rip here, game after game after game. But unfortunately, I think that they drop this one week one at home.
Damn. Jake, what do you got? So you're heading down there. Just going ahead and represent Bills Mafia, man. What do you got? And so you're leaving the stadium with a smile?
I hope so. It's a final season opener at the current Highmark Stadium that we've all come to know and love. So I'm going to say 31-28, a 3-point win for the Buffalo Bills.
Ooh.
Field goal being the difference. Matt Prater, if he ends up playing on Sunday, will be the one with the game-winning kick. It's not going to be a walk-off, but it's going to be a tight situation. You know how those tense moments get in those Bills-Ravens games, just like we saw in the playoffs. I'll say Bills come out with a win and a hot take for the game. I'm not going to go in one direction here. Full disclaimer before I lay this out, I'm not suggesting that you put your money on this. I'm just laying down a bunker bet right here. So I have first touchdown, Derrick Henry. Two touchdowns, Derrick Henry. Anytime touchdown score, Josh Allen. There you go.
Oh, retire the family here, folks.
Yeah.
Retire the family. Put your mortgage on that. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Do not.
Do not do that. Please bet responsibly, no matter where you're betting. So for me, guys, so I look at it from a couple of different perspectives. Number one, if Ricard and if Likely were out there, maybe my tune would have shifted. But now you're asking a Baltimore Ravens team has to completely shift their identity and do something that they were not very good at doing in 2024. The exact same team that did not play a lot of starters in the preseason at all, and they're going into a hostile environment in Buffalo by itself. I think that that's a recipe for, at the very least, a very slow start. It's going to take some time, I think, for them to knock the rust off, and that's even if they do get it going. I think that spells a lot of advantages for this Buffalo Bills team. I really, really do. So I'm not so much concerned about the defensive side of the football slowing down this Ravens offense because they need to completely shift their identity with those two key players out. Then I look at Buffalo, right? I do think that there are some chinks in the armor. I do think that we can win with involving the running backs right into the receiving game. I think that there could be a big game from the tight ends. I feel like as long as we play sound and complementary football, don't make any mistakes, no turnovers, something thankfully Josh didn't do much of last year, I think that we end up scraping by with a win, 24-20. And so I do think that Baltimore is going to start slow. I think Buffalo starts slow too. In fact, I would not be surprised if by the end of the first quarter, it's scoreless. I really would not. Here's my hot take. the Ravens rookie kicker misses 2 field goals, and the score is 24-20. Big shoes to fill. Whether or not, like, you have comments about Justin Tucker's character, I'm sure we all do, but those are still big shoes to fill as far as a football player is concerned. I think this rookie kicker misses 2 field goals, and everyone's going to be looking at that guy as into the reason why they did not win. Special teams we didn't even talk about on this episode, too. That might play a bigger factor than I think that we have been discussing, right? Because we brought in that guy. And so remind me his name.
Matt Prater?
Matt Prater.
No. I'm talking about the special teams ace that was signed into the 53 today.
Franklin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sam Franklin.
Yep. Really good special teamer. Stud. Absolute stud. Baltimore went out and countered with a special teamer they signed yesterday. But Sam Franklin's a stud. He's a really good special teamer to the point where people in Carolina didn't know why they let him go. And Denver actually paid him for some. They needed the roster spots, I guess. But the Bills are fully focused on with Chris Tabor on the special teams unit, and he is a stud coverage guy. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, he's really good. So we'll see how it all ends up coming together. The unit looked better in totality, except the Tampa game they won, but I'm not taking anything from that. But the unit was pretty good all preseason. It's a pretty strong unit, and I think they like the way that their punter is able to pin everything inside the 15.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, folks, guess what? We have a Patreon caller backstage. Say, for example, that you guys would ever like to call in. We treat this like a radio show. So we let you guys come in and either get something off of your chest, ask us a quick question. We all answer this. It's a really good way of being able to engage with us on top of the live chat. So say, for example, you are interested in doing this, folks. The Patreon link is currently in the description. It's $10 a month, and you have the opportunity of being able to call into every single show on Roundtable Sports. That includes all of the divisional shows. That includes Fourth and Forever, our daily NFL news show, some bonus content as well. So say that you ever want an opportunity of coming in and being heard like our boy Dwayne, feel free to do so. Dwayne, what's on your mind, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing today?
What's up, Dwayne?
Hanging out, man.
So, I am in favor of us being able to take on them this year only because I think our wide receiver team is stronger. Our offensive line is as strong, if not stronger, and our defensive line got much stronger in my feelings. So I can see it being 27, 28, 21, 23, somewhere around there. Just one question, Z-Bot. I would like to know, seeing you're the one that went against the Bills, which is okay. Still love you, bro. What do you see? What would you like to see the Bills do more of so they are able to win this game? And that's all I got to say today. I'm out. You're killing it.
Thank you, Dwayne. Shout out Dwayne, man. He's the lead mod over on this channel and my channel and most Roundtable Sports channel. Shout out to Dwayne. Z-Bot,
shout out to Dwayne. Man, that's a great question. I don't know, because I don't look at one particular thing that I think is going to end up being the difference. Like, I don't see Josh Allen turning the ball over and that being the dagger for this Buffalo Bills team. I don't see turnovers in general being the dagger. I just think that Baltimore makes one more play, whether that be a 4th down conversion, whether that be a 3rd and long, just one more of those minor plays that we know the Bills have been on the wrong end of at the worst times. I feel like that's just one of those moments that happens on Sunday night. I think we're going to get the best version of Lamar that you can possibly see just based on what happened last year. What I would like to see the Bills do in order to better shore up a chance at a W would probably be to completely dictate what Derrick Henry's impact is on the game. When you look at what Derrick Henry has done against Buffalo, it's been a lot of very average, some mediocre, and then 2 just absolute all-worldly games, right? He really has only gone off twice, but when he went off, he really, really went off. But the Bills have found ways to be able to contain him. If they can go from containing him to making him the second option, right? Having to go full pass, and like Kevin had alluded to earlier, allowing the Bills a better opportunity to get pressure on Lamar. I think that is how the Bills are best suited to win this game. So if I were to have one answer to that question, it would be limit the impact Derrick Henry has, because I think that leads to the limit, or that ends up limiting the impact that Lamar Jackson has.
Great question there from Dwayne. We appreciate that. If you guys are interested in signing up for Patreon, that link is in the description. Always have that opportunity of locking on in with that. Football tonight, boys. Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles. We get our taste of it. So I'm not sure if you guys are college football fans, but I was locked in on some college ball last week, largely because I was just desperate for ball. But I mean, folks, we're here. We are here, man. We're finally going to get some answers. Did Buffalo improve on their third down defense? Did we improve on our pass rush? Did we improve on our run defense? Did our wide receiver room take that next step? All questions will be answered on Sunday evening. With that being said, let's go around the table, say our goodbyes. We remind everybody that when you do tune in, vast majority of you are tuning in during the replay of these episodes. We ask that if you want to lock in live with us, make sure you turn on those bell notifications when you subscribe. We would love to welcome you here live. Jake, what do you got to say to the audience before we send them off?
Well, Carrie Underwood says we've been waiting all day for Sunday night, but we've been waiting months for this Sunday night matchup, and it's finally coming. Sunday night, Bills Ravens. It's a rematch of the divisional round matchup. It's the MVP against the man that Ravens fans called the MV3. Not true, though. MVP Josh Allen against the other MVP, Lamar Jackson. It's going to be great. I can't wait. I'll be there at Highmark Stadium. The atmosphere, it's going to be electric for the final matchup, final regular season opener at Highmark Stadium. I can't wait. Bills Mafia, you're going to be there, and we'll be back here next week discussing what happens. Hopefully that's with a dub. Let's get a big dub, and let's go Bills.
Let's get that going. So what about you, Z-Bot?
Couldn't have said it better. We finally made it. Can't wait to watch that game tonight. A Micah Parson-less Dallas Cowboys team. How deflated are they going to look? Or are they going to be inspired, try to put the middle finger to Jerry, go out there and win under Schottenheimer in his first game as a head coach? We also get to see Philadelphia start their reign towards trying to put a dynasty together here and certainly have the roster to potentially do it. And the Bills will see them late in the season. We talked about that earlier on the show, or earlier in the offseason here on the show, about how that game could be a massive impact on the one seed in both conferences. So can't wait for that, but really can't wait for Sunday night. I certainly can't wait to watch these Bills in that high profile of a game to kick the season off. It just doesn't get better than Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson under the lights to start off the year in the final home opener at the Ralph. So I can't wait. I know you guys all can't wait, and we can't wait to recap it with you next week, right where you're at here on the Buffalo Bills Roundtable. Very excited.
What about you, Kev? What's on your mind?
I mean, look, Lamar lost a home opener or a season opener last year in a really raucous crowd in Kansas City on a toe. And we're not accounting for the Bills. Does the Bills Stadium in the last home opener in Highmark Stadium, the Ralph history, have any say in it? Maybe it does have zero say. It could be a little bit of lore that maybe it wills them to a win in some of these games, and the Bills have a pretty hard home schedule. I think that there could be a little bit of a factor there. I think the Bills, if this was to your question earlier, Dan, maybe it isn't just the two players, but the two players they're missing, plus being in Baltimore, would have probably changed my answer on who I think wins this. But I think they're two offensive players, plus not being in Baltimore, I think could be the swinging factor in this game. The Bills are coming out hot to prove that they do have the MVP. This is the last time they're going to play here. And there's a lot on the line. So I think the Bills have a lot to do, and I think their offense is returning pretty much everyone with an addition of Palmer. It's pretty exciting times where they don't have the turnover that other teams have. And we'll see if the middle of Baltimore's defense can respond and how Lamar faces 5-man pressures. Maybe they have an answer for that, guys, but ultimately the data is the data. I'm going with it in this one. And I think that the Bills may pleasantly surprise, because Z-Bot, your point, maybe they will forget about it in a month, but you'll have it all season. Can the Bills beat winning teams again? We'll have that rhetoric the entire time. Who cares if they beat their awful division or McDaniel's fired or So this, you can't lose anything in September. You can't win anything in September, but you sure can lose it in terms of like, are they going to chase this are they going to chase this 1 seed or the 2 seed all season because they didn't play inspired football week 1? it's pretty important in terms of that. And I think the Bills will take advantage with it being at home.
My mental state would not be able to handle my mentions if we lose to the Baltimore Ravens. There is no way I would be able to handle that. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you on Monday, hopefully celebrating big fat victory. See you soon.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.